People ask me, Kala, how do you live with a hole in your life? They mean well, but they don't understand. A hole is just an empty space. This is a living wound, a scream I've swallowed every single morning for 40 years. It's a cold draft in my small house that never leaves. I am Kala Rivington, and for 4 decades, I've been a ghost walking through my own life, a mother waiting for a knock on the door that never comes. And this is the story of how my frozen world finally shattered on a rainy Tuesday night. It was just after 7, and the darkness had settled in. My husband, Oswin, God rest his soul, passed 10 years ago, so my nights are a predictable, lonely silence. It's just me, my cat, and the hum of the old television in my small ranch house in Willow Creek. I was knitting, the needles clicking against the sound of the local news. They were droning on about some charity fundraiser in Portland, a gala full of wealthy people I'd never know. I was half watching, letting the noise fill the silence left by my son, Lowell. Then, the camera panned to a man at a podium. He was handsome, with thick silver hair and a dark suit that cost more than my mortgage. He was smiling as he accepted an award. The news anchor's voice was bright, and the award for Philanthropist of the Year goes to Mr. Jareth Thorne. But I didn't hear the name. I only saw his eyes. I saw the way his left eyebrow crooked just a fraction higher than his right, just like his father's. I saw the way he tilted his head when he listened. My knitting needles clattered to the floor. It couldn't be. My mind screamed at me. I was just an 80-year-old woman seeing ghosts in the static. This man was a stranger, a wealthy, important man. My Lowell was a 19-year-old boy in a worn-out flannel shirt and muddy boots, a boy who smelled of engine grease. He wasn't this polished phantom. But my heart was pounding so hard I thought it would break. It knew. A mother always knows. 40 years ago, Lowell walked out of this very house after a terrible fight with his father. "I'm going to find a life that is better than this," he shouted. "Don't you come looking for me." And we didn't. He was just gone. No letters. No calls. Just a gaping, silent hole that hollowed me out and broke his father's spirit. And now, here he was. Living that better life. He had a new name, a new face, a new world. He was alive. All this time, while I was setting a place for him at Thanksgiving, while I was praying he was safe, he was out there. He was alive and he never once called. The shock wasn't just recognition. It was betrayal. It was 40 years of hollow grief turning, in one instant, into a burning, white-hot rage. Then, the news anchor said something that made my blood freeze, and Mr. Thorne will be visiting his old hometown of Willow Creek next week. He was coming here. The day he left is burned into my mind like a brand. It was a Thursday in October, the air sharp with the smell of frost. Oswin had found a brochure for a mechanic school in California hidden under Lowell's mattress. Oswin believed in the land, in the soil. He couldn't understand why his only son dreamed of pavement and engines. He saw it as a rejection, a personal insult. The argument started as a low rumble and grew into a storm. Words were said that could never be taken back. Lowell was 19, but he had all of his father's stubbornness. He felt trapped by the endless fields. "This isn't a life, Dad. It's a prison." I remember him yelling, his face red. Oswin, covered in dirt, pointed a finger at him. "If you walk out that door, don't you dare ever come back. You'll be no son of mine." Lowell's eyes flashed, not with tears, but with a terrible resolve. He went to his room, and the slam of his door was like a gunshot. I tried to talk to Oswin, but he was a stone wall. "Let him go," he spat. "He'll be back in a week," begging. But Lowell didn't come back. He packed a bag, his hands shaking with anger. I tried to stop him at the door, to press money into his hand. "Please, Lowell, just wait." He looked at me, his eyes cold and closed off. "He means it, Mom. And so do I." He pushed past me, and I watched from the porch as he threw his bag into his beat-up Ford truck. The engine roared to life. He didn't look back. Not once. I watched the plume of dust follow him down the long gravel drive until it disappeared. I stood there until the sun set and the air grew cold. The years that followed were a special kind of quiet hell. At first, we told ourselves he was just being stubborn. Oswin's anger slowly turned to a brittle, silent worry. We filed a missing persons report, but he was an adult. He's allowed to disappear if he wants to, the sheriff told me. So we waited. The waiting became the air we breathed. Every holiday was a fresh wound, his empty chair a silent accusation. We never spoke his name. The silence of it was what finally killed Oswin. It ate him from the inside out, that toxic mix of pride and regret. After Oswin passed, I sold the farm and moved into this small house in town. My daughter, Trina, begged me to move to Arizona with her, but I couldn't. What if he came back? He wouldn't know where to find me. So I stayed, locking myself in this town, in this waiting room. For 40 years, I've been waiting for my son to come home. And now, I see him. He's rich, he's powerful, and he's a stranger named Jareth Thorne. He wasn't lost. He just replaced us. The next week passed in a blur. The entire town of Willow Creek was buzzing. Jareth Thorne, the local boy who made good, was coming home. Except, no one remembered a Jareth Thorne. The local paper spun a story about a distant cousin of the Miller family who had spent summers here. It was a lie, a carefully constructed piece of fiction. My Lowell was buried deep under this new name and his millions of dollars. I told no one. This was between me and the ghost on my television. The day of the event, I put on my best dress, the one I wore to Oswin's funeral. My hands shook as I fastened the buttons. I looked at the old woman in the mirror, her face a map of wrinkles. "He won't even know who you are," a voice whispered. I gripped the sink. "He will," I whispered back. "I am his mother." I walked to the town hall, my legs weak but my spine made of steel. The old building was packed. Reporters from Portland were there. The mayor was preening, ready to accept a check. I found a seat in the back, invisible. And then, he walked in. The room erupted in applause. He was real. He wore a beautiful suit the color of whetstone, and he moved with an easy, practiced grace, shaking hands, smiling. He looked nothing like my son. And then he laughed at something the mayor said. It was a quiet, controlled sound, not the loud, barking laugh Lowell had. But his eyes, when he laughed, his eyes crinkled in the corners. Exactly the same. My breath caught. It was him. He took the stage and began to speak of community, of giving back, of roots. It made me sick. He was announcing a new library, the Jareth Thorne Community Library. He was putting his new name on a building in the town he'd abandoned. The hypocrisy was a slap in the face. I waited. I sat through the applause and the speeches. Finally, the crowd began to thin. He was standing near the stage with a young, sharp assistant. This was my chance. I stood up and walked through the empty chairs. He didn't see me coming. I stopped 3 feet from him. "It's a lovely speech," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. He turned, his professional smile already forming. "Thank you, ma'am. We're so glad to be." His voice trailed off as he truly looked at me. His eyes scanned my face. I saw a flicker. Not recognition. Just confusion. He was trying to place me. I didn't smile. I just held his gaze, letting him look into the eyes of the woman he had erased. Then, I spoke the name that hadn't been said aloud in my house for decades. "Lowell," I said. "You're late for supper." The smile on his face didn't just fade, it shattered. The blood drained from his face, leaving him a waxy, pale color. He looked, for 1 second, like the 19-year-old boy, caught and terrified. He knew me. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. The young assistant, a sharp woman named Margot, stepped forward. "Mr. Thorne, we have the car waiting." She touched his arm, trying to guide him away, but he was frozen, his gaze locked on mine. He was staring at me as if I were a ghost. He finally found his voice, and it was not the voice of Lowell. It was the cold, smooth voice of Jareth Thorne. I think you must be mistaken, ma'am," he said, the words clipped and precise. He put a wall of ice between us. "My name is Jareth Thorne. I believe you have me confused with someone else." He held out his hand to shake mine, a stranger's gesture. A dismissal. I looked at his manicured hand, the one I used to hold, but I didn't take it. "You can't do this, Lowell," I whispered. "You can't stand here and lie to my face. I'm your mother." At the word mother, he flinched violently. The assistant, Margot, stepped between us. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to step aside. Mr. Thorne is on a very tight schedule." He was already turning away, his shoulders tense. He was running, just like he did 40 years ago. "You have your father's eyes," I said, my voice rising. "Does your new name change that?" He stopped dead, his back still to me. "Margot, please handle this," he said, his voice a low growl. And then he walked out the door. I was left standing there, the humiliation a hot, sour taste in my mouth. He had done it again. Margot turned back to me, her face cold. "I don't know what that was about, ma'am, but I will not let you harass him." "Harass him?" I was trembling. "That man is my son. His name is Lowell Rivington. He ran away from home in 1985. Margot just looked at me with pity, which was worse. "Ma'am, Mr. Thorne was born in Seattle. His parents died in a car crash when he was young. It's all part of his official biography. He's an orphan. Please, go home. You're just confused. It was all a lie. A story. A complete fabrication. He hadn't just changed his name, he had erased his whole world. He had erased me, he had erased Oswin." I turned and walked out of that hall, my head held high. I was not confused. I was not senile. And I was not done. He had built a wall of ice, a fortress of lies and money. He thought he could hide. He was wrong. He had forgotten who I was. I was his mother. And I was the woman who would tear that fortress down. I went home that night and I didn't cry. The part of me that wept was burned away, replaced by a cold fury. He had called me ma'am. He had his assistant dismiss me like a piece of trash. I called my daughter, Trina, in Arizona. I told her everything, the man on the news, the town hall, the cold denial. There was a long, heavy silence. "Oh, Mama," Trina finally said, her voice full of pity. "That was the one thing I couldn't bear. Don't you think you wanted it to be him? Mom, he has lawyers. Please, be careful." She didn't believe me. My own daughter thought I was crazy. I hung up, feeling more alone than ever. I was not wrong. I had to find proof. Something undeniable. I thought back to the boy, to Lowell. What did I know that Jareth Thorne couldn't erase? And then, it hit me. When Lowell was 12, he tried to build a go-kart. He was using his father's tools when the saw slipped and cut a deep gash into his left hand. Right on the fleshy part of his palm, just below the thumb. It needed 12 stitches. It left a terrible scar. A jagged, angry, half-moon scar. The man in the suit had offered me his right hand. I spent the next 2 days digging through old photo albums. The pictures were faded, yellowed with time. There he was at 10, holding a fish. And there, a high school baseball photo. He was 16, leaning on his bat, smiling. And his left hand was resting on his knee, palm slightly open. I grabbed my magnifying glass, my heart hammering. And there it was. Faint, but unmistakable. The jagged, half-moon scar. I let out a sound, halfway between a sob and a cheer. I had him. I knew what I had to do. The local paper, the Willow Creek Gazette, was covering his visit. A young reporter, Cassidy Bell, had written the article. I marched to her office with the photo. "Can I help you, Mrs. Rivington?" she asked, looking bored. "You're writing about Jareth Thorne," I said. "You're writing lies. His name is Lowell Rivington." She sighed. "Ma'am, we've—" "He has a scar," I interrupted, sliding the photo across her desk. "On his left palm. A half-moon, from a saw." Cassidy looked at the photo, then at me. She picked up the magnifying glass, her journalistic instincts waking up. "She saw it." "That's a specific claim," she said. "It is," I said. "And it's true. He's holding a press Q&A tomorrow at the library site." "They won't take real questions," she said. "They will if you ask the right one," I replied. She looked at me, a slow smile spreading across her face. "Ma'am, I think I'd like to hear your story. From the very beginning." Cassidy Bell was a shark. She listened to my entire story, her eyes never leaving mine. "This is the story of a lifetime, Calla, if it's true." "It is true," I said. "Jareth Thorne's entire public identity is built on being an orphan," she said, tapping her pen. "His records were lost in a fire. It's a perfect, sealed narrative. He built that narrative to hide," I said. "And he's hiding from me." "The press event is at 10 tomorrow," Cassidy said. "His assistant, Margot, has been strict, no personal questions. But I'm a member of the press. A question about his inspiring orphan story is fair game. Especially if I have a photo." She took a high-resolution scan of my picture. "I'm not going to ambush him with the scar. That's our ace. I'm just going to ask him why he lied about being a distant cousin." The next morning, I went to the library site. Jareth was there in a hard hat, smiling for the cameras, holding a silver shovel. He looked rested, confident. He hadn't seen me. I stayed at the back. After the photo op, Margot tried to end the session. "Mr. Thorne will take one last question." Cassidy's hand shot up. "Mr. Thorne." Cassidy Bell, Willow Creek Gazette. "This town is so grateful. But we're all a bit confused. Your office said you were a distant cousin, but no one here remembers any Thornes." The smile on Jareth's face tightened. Margot stepped forward. "We're here to talk about the library. But we do remember the Rivingtons," Cassidy pushed on. "And we have a photo of a local boy, Lowell Rivington, from 1984. And, sir, he looks identical to your early company photos. Can you comment on the incredible resemblance?" The air went still. The other reporters turned to Cassidy, smelling blood. Jareth's face became a perfect, cold mask. He looked past Cassidy, his eyes scanning the crowd. He was looking for me. Our eyes met. He knew. His gaze was filled with a cold, terrifying hatred. I didn't flinch. He turned back to Cassidy, his voice dripping with false charm. "I'm afraid I have no idea what you're talking about. I've been blessed with a common sort of face, I suppose. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a plane to catch." He turned and walked, almost ran, to his black SUV. As he reached the car, Cassidy shouted one last thing. "What about the scar on your left hand, Mr. Thorne?" Jareth froze. His hand was on the car door handle. He didn't turn around. For a full 5 seconds, he was completely still. Then, he ripped the door open, threw himself inside, and slammed it shut. The car sped off, kicking up gravel. He was gone. The black SUV disappeared. The other reporters immediately swarmed Cassidy. What scar? What photo? Who is Lowell Rivington? Cassidy just smiled. No comment for now, folks. I'm working on a story. She found me by the edge of the lot. He's terrified, she said, her eyes bright. He's not just lying, he's hiding. He'll never come back now, I said, the victory feeling hollow. I've just scared him away again. No, Cassidy said. He's cornered. His orphan story is his brand. We just poked a hole in it. His assistant, Margot, is still at the Willow Creek Inn. She's probably in damage control. What can we do? I asked. He'll sue us. He can't sue us for asking a question, Cassidy countered. He's made a mistake. He got arrogant. Margot won't talk to me. But she might talk to you. You're the one person she needs to silence. Let's see what she's willing to offer to make the confused old woman go away. The Willow Creek Inn was our town's one fancy hotel. Margot was at the front desk, yelling into her phone. When she saw us walk in, her face went pale with rage. You, she hissed. I need to speak to Mr. Thorne, I said. Mr. Thorne is gone. And you, reporter, she pointed at Cassidy, if you print one word of that baseless, insane story, my lawyers will own your tiny paper by sundown. And you, she turned to me, I feel sorry for you. You're pathetic. Mr. Thorne has no idea who you are. Then why did he run? Cassidy asked. Why did he freeze when I mentioned the scar? Margot's eyes darted around. Look, she said, lowering her voice. What do you want? This is a misunderstanding. He's willing to make a donation. A personal donation. To you. For your troubles. Say, $50,000? To help with your confusion. You can't be bought, Mom, a new voice said. I turned. My daughter, Trina. She was standing by the door. She must have gotten on the first plane from Arizona. I saw the live stream, Trina said, her face pale but resolute. I saw his face when that reporter asked about the scar. You were right. She walked over and stood next to me. My mother is not confused, and she's not for sale. Margot looked at the three of us. The reporter. The daughter. The mother. She was outnumbered. He's at the airport in Portland, I said to Trina. His new life is there. His wife, his children. He's built a whole world on this lie. Then he needs to tell them the truth, Trina said. His flight leaves in 2 hours, Cassidy said, typing on her phone. We'll never make it. We don't have to, I said, a sudden, cold resolve settling in me. He thinks I'm a ghost. It's time I showed him I'm real. Cassidy, publish the story. Publish the photo. Tonight. The story hit the internet like a bomb. Cassidy didn't just publish it locally, she sent it to the press wire. Local philanthropists orphan past questioned by town. Mother claims Jareth Thorne is her missing son, Lowell Rivington. The story, with the baseball photo and the details of the scar, was spreading. Trina and I sat in my small living room, watching it happen. For the first time in 40 years, I wasn't alone. Just after midnight, a car pulled up outside. It was a simple rental, not the black SUV. The rain was pouring down. A man got out, without an umbrella. He stood on the sidewalk for a long moment, looking at my house. It was him. Jareth. Lowell. He looked drenched, defeated, and much older. He's here, Trina whispered. This is your fight, Mom. I'll be in the kitchen. I unlocked the door and opened it. He was standing on my porch, water dripping from his silver hair, his expensive suit ruined. He looked at me, and the wall of ice was gone. All that was left was the face of a terrified, exhausted man. You never sold the house, he whispered. His voice was hoarse. It was Lowell's voice. I wouldn't let him, I said. I told him we had to be here, in case you came home. He winced. May I come in? I stepped aside. He stood dripping on the rug, his eyes landing on a photo on the mantel. It was him and Oswin, fishing. He's dead, he stated. 10 years ago, I said. He died waiting for you. He died thinking you were dead. A tear cut a path through the rainwater on his cheek. Why? I asked. Why, Lowell? Why run and never look back? He finally looked at me, his eyes full of a 40-year-old shame. I couldn't come back, he whispered. I didn't just run away, Mom. I did something. I was stupid. I owed money. A lot of money. To some bad people in Portland. Gambling. I stole from Dad's safe. Not just the mechanic school money. All of it. The money for the new tractor. I thought I'd win it back. I lost it all. They were going to hurt me. They were going to hurt you. I sank into my armchair. Oswin had told me that money was missing. He had blamed himself. So I ran, Lowell continued. I ran to Seattle. I changed my name. I was terrified they'd find me. Or Dad would. Then I got lucky with a patent. I made money. And the more money I made, the bigger Jareth Thorne became. Lowell Rivington was a thief. A coward. I buried him. I buried you. It was easier. Easier? I spat. Easier than picking up a phone? Saying I'm alive? You don't understand, he yelled, the old Lowell fire flashing. The shame. I couldn't face him. I have a wife, Mom. Children. They don't know. You've destroyed me, he whispered, sinking onto the sofa. My life is over. I looked at the man on my sofa. My son. He was weeping, this powerful, wealthy man, crying like the 12-year-old boy who'd cut his hand. He was a broken, selfish, terrified man. My rage finally flickered. It didn't die, but it made room for a vast, aching pity. He hadn't run away to be cruel. He had run away because he was a coward. You destroyed yourself, Lowell, I said, my voice soft but firm. You built this life on a lie. It was always going to collapse. My wife, my children. He choked out. What am I supposed to tell them? That their father is a thief? His name is Lowell, Trina said, stepping out from the kitchen. He snapped his head up, his eyes wide. Trina, he breathed. You let us mourn you, Lowell, Trina said, her arms crossed. She was the daughter who had to watch her parents grieve for 40 years. You let Dad die. Do you know what Mom did every year on your birthday? She baked a cake. She'd light the candles, and we'd sit there in silence until they burned down to nothing. For 40 years. While you were Jareth Thorne, buying libraries. He flinched, the words hitting him harder than a slap. There was nothing he could say. The whole, selfish truth was laid bare. What do you want? He finally asked, his voice dead. Do you want money? You want me to tell the world? It's not about the law, I said, standing up. I don't want your money. I wanted my son. And he's gone. This man, Jareth, is a stranger to me. But he's the only thing I have left. I will not be your secret anymore, Lowell. You don't get to bury me again. What do you mean? He asked. The story is out, I said. You can't stop it. You can deny it, or you can tell the truth. I don't care about the world. I care about the people you've lied to. Your wife. Your children. They deserve a real man, not a ghost. And Trina deserves a brother. And I deserve to be a grandmother. That is my price. You don't just get to say sorry. You have to tear down the lie yourself. I can't, he whispered. She'll leave me. She might, I said. Truth is costly. But lies cost everything. Lowell did not go back to Portland that night. He slept in his old room. Trina and I sat in the kitchen until the sun came up. The next morning, Lowell came downstairs, his eyes red and swollen. I'm going to, he said, his voice raw. I'm going to tell her. My wife, Naoma. But I want to do it here. I want her to meet you. Both of you. He made the call. It was short. He asked her to drive to Willow Creek, to come alone. She arrived the next day, a tall, elegant woman, looking confused and terrified. Lowell met her on the lawn. Trina and I went inside to give them privacy. I watched through the window as they stood under the old oak tree. I saw him talking, his hands moving frantically. I saw her cover her mouth. I saw her sit down, hard, on the grass. He sat beside her, just talking. They sat there for over an hour. Then, slowly, she stood up. She looked at him, and she slapped him. A hard, ringing slap. Then she hugged him. She held onto him, and they both just wept. That was 3 months ago. My life is different. It's not a fairy tale. Jareth Thorne is gone. The world thinks he's a recluse. The library project was quietly cancelled. Lowell, my son, is living in Portland. His wife, Naoma, did not leave him. They are trying to rebuild their marriage. With truth this time. His children, my grandchildren, know. They know my name is Calla, and I am their father's mother. They are confused and angry at him. They don't know me. But last week, I received a drawing in the mail from my granddaughter. It was a picture of a small house and a big house, with a line connecting them. Underneath, she wrote, Grandma Calla. Trina and Lowell are not friends. Not yet. There is too much pain. But they are talking. He comes to my house every Sunday. He sits in my kitchen. We talk about the weather. He brings me groceries. It's awkward. It's painful. The boy I lost never came home. But a man I don't know is trying to be my son. The wound is still there. The 40 years of silence can't be erased. But it's not a gaping, black hole anymore. It's just a scar. And it's finally started to heal. Thank you for following Calla's story. If you believe in the power of truth, please like this video and subscribe for more stories that deserve to be told.